Good evening, everyone, and welcome back to the Suburban Rifleman. Today is my birthday, a fact which is completely irrelevant. I'm not fishing for birthday wishes or anything like that, but it's not completely irrelevant, and I'll get into that in a minute. But I thought I'd stop by the club here after work and just do a little bit of shooting. This is going to be a brief video. I don't have a lot of ammo, and I don't have a ton to talk about, but I'm in a Kel-Tec state of mind. And the reason for that will become apparent soon. I'm not going to reveal anything at the moment. I did make the mistake over coffee this morning of going on to everyone's favorite website from South Carolina and perusing around. And I didn't spend a lot of money, but I did purchase myself a bit of a Christmas or a birthday present, rather. It's not Christmas. It's warm out here. So I did purchase myself a bit of a birthday present. And the reason I mention the fact that it's my birthday is what I bought is a Kel-Tec, obviously. But 16 years ago today, I purchased another Kel-Tec. And I know Kel-Tec is sort of a contentious brand. I don't think there's a lot of people who are ambivalent about Kel-Tec. If you're in the 2A community, especially if you're interested in pistols, you either are fascinated by the brilliant mind of George Kellgren and you're a huge fan of Kel-Tec, or you think all Kel-Tecs are garbage. I fall into the first camp. I have had incredible luck with Kel-Tec. You can get duds from any manufacturer. Look at what's happening at SIG nowadays. But Kel-Tec has always sort of been pushed off to the side. A lot of their stuff is a little quirky and weird, which is part of the reason that I love it. They do things that are different. They really think outside the box. I think for the most part, the company is driven by George Kellgren, who started off as a firearms designer, not as a businessman. But a lot of people are talking about George Kellgren nowadays. But for many years, he was sort of an unknown. I've been following him since he started Grendel Firearms back in the 1980s. I was aware of him even when he was working for, or not when he was working for Interdynamics AG in Sweden. He is a Swede, by the way. But he designed the Interdynamics KG99, which was kind of an innovative polymer-framed, more or less straightforward blowback submachine gun. He didn't find any big military contracts, but he did sell the design, I think, to the owner of Intratec, and that became the Tec 9, the infamous Tec 9 of Miami Vice and Cocaine Wars fame. He then started Grendel, making weird little pistols, and then later on he started Kel-Tec, which we all know today. I've owned a bunch of Kel-Tec firearms over the years. I had a P11 early on. I didn't keep that a really long time, but despite the staple gun-like nature of its trigger, it really defined the genre of the Micro 9, the subcompact 9mm. They were incredibly rugged. They were very small, very lightweight. They were really revolutionary. I'm not sure if the mini Glocks came out first, like the Model 26 or the Kel-Tec P11, but a lot of cops, a lot of federal agents, a lot of people who put their life on the line every day carried the P11 as a backup gun. I imagine probably some undercover narcotics officers might have actually carried it as their primary because it was so small and so lightweight. I didn't keep my P11 really long, but I had it for a couple of years, and it was a really good pistol. Then I owned the original Sub 9 carbine. Probably some of you that are younger, who am I kidding? Nobody young. All I have to do is look at the demographics from my YouTube analytics to tell that no young people are watching this channel. But if you are, the Sub 9 was the predecessor to the Sub 2000 today. Only instead of having a bunch of injection molded plastic parts, the entire thing was CNC machined out of billets of aluminum and steel. It wasn't cheap. You know, Kel-Tec sort of has a reputation for producing cheap, if dependable, firearms today. The Sub 9 carbine was actually really expensive. In the mid 90s, it cost about $800, which doesn't sound like a lot now, but it was a lot of money back then. I had that for a few years. My dad had it for a few years. I had it again for a few years, and then I made the mistake of selling it. We all end up regretting selling something at some time, but you can't keep everything. But by far the standout model in my Kel-Tec saga has been the pistol that I bought 16 years ago today. I didn't buy it for myself. Well, I did buy it, but I was using birthday money. My wife and I had very limited resources 16 years ago. She didn't even have a real job. She was kind of working under the table part-time for a couple of different people, and she scrimped and she saved a few $100s, which was a huge achievement for her at the time. And she gave me that for my birthday. My parents had given me some birthday money, and I put that money together and I bought a couple of guns, one of which I'm not going to talk about, but the other one was this Kel-Tec P32. And this pistol has far, far, far exceeded any expectations I had of it when I bought it. It's another genre-defining pistol. It really redefined the pocket pistol. The fact that George Kellgren incorporated a locked breech design in 32 ACP, which prior to that had strictly been reserved for much bulkier pocket pistols, but they were all blowback, so they had to be quite a bit larger than this. He basically built a tiny little service pistol around the 32 ACP cartridge, and it ended up being the lightest, thinnest, most concealable pistol anybody had ever seen, and it's been copied in enormous numbers by other companies. The Ruger LCP series really is the Kel-Tec P32. Kel-Tec themselves, 5 years after this was introduced in 1998, introduced their own P3AT, which was almost exactly the same size, ever so slightly scaled up to accommodate the 380 cartridge, but it didn't have a hold open on the last shot, and it had one fewer cartridge in the magazine. This holds 7 rounds plus 1. The P3AT, as is the case, I think, with the Ruger LCP, held 6 rounds plus 1. So I really prefer the P32. I like having that extra round. I like having the hold open on the last shot. I wasn't actually intending to shoot this, but I do have 7 rounds. I didn't bring any extra ammo, but I do have 7 rounds of cellular and below full metal jackets in this magazine that have been in here for, I can't tell you how long, several years. So we may as well get 7 shots off anyway, and then we'll move on to what I really wanted to shoot tonight. But I wanted to take a look at the P32. I own other 32s, antiques that are of that older blowback style, and I intend to do a sort of a retrospective on the 32 ACP coming up soon, but I just wanted to take a look at this because I happen to have it in my pocket. I've carried this pistol just because it's so small and because it's so lightweight and because it's so easy to throw in your pocket. I am inherently lazy. I hate strapping on a holster and carrying a full-size pistol. Not to say I don't do it quite a bit, but I really dislike that. You're banging into doorways, you're banging into seatbelt buckles all day long. You've got to prepare. You got to take the pistol out, put it on the toilet tank while you're on the john so the pistol doesn't crash into the concrete floor. I hate all of that. I am lazy. And as a result of that, although the 32 ACP, particularly in full metal jacket form, is not the most effective self-defense cartridge out there, I have carried this pistol. I've worn out 2 pocket holsters, and not cheap nylon pocket holsters off the rack in the Walmart sporting goods department. Good quality American-made leather pocket holsters. I've worn out 2, and I have a third inbound as we speak, which is what kind of started all of this Kel-Tec love all of a sudden, because I want to put this back into my rotation. Summer is almost upon us, and it's time for shorts, and this thing is just so easy to carry. So I think I've gone on about this as much as I can. Let's just get rid of these 7 rounds of ammo, and then we'll move on to a different pistol. One thing to note about this pistol, I've put about, and I have a pretty accurate count, wow, for ammo that's been in the magazine for years, it all went bang. In addition to the fact that it's so lightweight and so easy to carry, the reason I'm confident carrying this pistol for self-defense is I've got around 600 or 700 rounds through this pistol, which is not a lot for a pistol that you've owned for 16 years. Carry pistols are meant to be carried often and shot not very often, but 500 or 600 rounds is a pretty good proving of the pistol's reliability. And this thing has been Glock-like in its reliability over those 16 years. I have not had one single failure to fire, not one single failure to extract, not one single failure to eject, not one single failure to feed. In 600 or maybe even 700 rounds, this thing has been 100% reliable, and I feel the 32 ACP, you can argue whether or not that's sufficient or not, but I feel 100% confident in the pistol itself. The other pistol I brought out here, I've only had for about 2 years, and this has been quite reliable as well. And this was the hot ticket maybe 3 years ago. This is the Kel-Tec. Well, no, it was during COVID. I think it was 2019 or 2020 that the Kel-Tec P17 was introduced. As the name implies, it'll hold a total of 17 rounds of ammo, 16 in the mag, 1 in the pipe, which is a little bit weird. Kel-Tec's a little strange with their nomenclature. This is called the P17 because it'll hold 17 rounds of .22 long rifle, including 1 up the spout. The new P15 9mm is really a 12-round magazine plus 1. There are extended base plate magazines that hold 15 rounds plus 1. So you would think they would call it the P16 or the P13 instead of the P15. Anyway, I'm trying to make sense of stuff that I have no control over. But anyway, this was introduced. It's hard to imagine. It was introduced about 6 years ago. It is the first successful double stack magazine in .22 long rifle. And this has been almost 100% reliable. These are a straight blowback. It has a very smooth action. When these are brand new, and I don't know, maybe the new ones are a little bit different, but the early models like that, well, it's not really that early. I've had it 2 or 3 years, but so it was probably 2 or 3 years into the production run when I bought this. But some of the earlier models had reliability issues. This one, the first maybe 100 rounds I put through it, I would occasionally have to tap the back of the slide because it wouldn't go completely into battery. But the last few hundred rounds I've fired through this pistol, I've had 0 reliability issues. So, and I've talked about it before, so I'm not going to go into it in great depth. This is just me having a little fun on my birthday, and I thought I'd bring you all along with me. So I've got 3 magazines, so that's 48 rounds of ammo, and we'll just go ahead and shoot those up. There are some steel plates out there. I guess those are probably 40 yards away. I have a cheap Amazon light laser combo on here. This is made by GM Con. It's the GM 1091. Not the sort of light unit that I would put on a serious defensive pistol, but it seems to work fine, and it does have a green laser in it, so I think I have it pretty well zeroed, and I wanted to check that out. So let's see if I can hit steel at whatever that is, 40 yards maybe. Just using the laser. I know I'm not looking over the sights. Oops. The P17, although it seems like a double action, is actually single action with a thumb safety, an ambidextrous thumb safety. Here we go. Just using the laser, I want to see if I have it more or less regulated. Oh, I hit that steel plate, even though that really feels weird, shooting without the sights. I need to get into the proper grip here. I hit the steel plate on my first shot. Oh, I think I hit the plate again. Now we'll turn off the laser and just go with the sights here. That's a lot of 22 rimfire. I've owned other rimfire pistols over the years, but this is really a game changer, having 16 rounds in the mag. And like I said, after the first 100 rounds or so, this thing's been 100% reliable. I think someone else is here, so I'm probably going to wrap this up soon. I'm hitting that steel gong, but I'm not sure you're even going to be able to hear it ringing. Last magazine, then we'll wrap this up. I've got places to be. My wife has some plans for me this evening, so oh, only had 12 rounds in that mag, I guess. But you can go through 48 rounds pretty quick in a 22 autoloader. Anyway, I'm working on a couple of more videos, and I hope to catch each of you on the next one. Later, guys.